Time is not linear. It is circular, just like the sun you see in the sky every day. And although we see ourselves getting older in the mirror, we seem to circle back to the same old things. Unfortunately, sometimes we never grow up, even if we think we do.
Oh no!
Being a father is like going full circle on that timeline, watching yourself grow up, learn the same lessons that you had to way back then. When I grew up, there were no cell phones, no internet, just the sun above our heads and our hands to work with. Every weekend when we were on the farm, nearly my entire family that lived nearby was working on something, building something. And all I knew was if I could do anything with my hands, I could accomplish the world. My grandfather and my uncle were constant influences as I watched them get stuff done on a daily basis. And all I wanted to do was the same thing. And as I got older, I started to realize that I wanted things to stay the same. Not really interested in changing the world, wanting to live like my grandfather did. So now I want to keep it the same way for my son. Teach him to keep his mind steady, keep his heart true, and learn to work with his hands as well, and learn to love what you've made. Learn to love new skills, and sometimes you may have to learn new skills and be quite frustrated at the result. But in the end, you have to know that it will get better. So when I built that steel guitar, I had hammer formed a round edge around on the top and the back, and then the seam that I welded was down here a little lower, and it was just meant to mimic the edge of a regular guitar. I wanted it to look like it was made of wood, and I think I accomplished that pretty well. But the problem with that was there was a ton of grinding here, and then down here there was a belt that was meeting the two in the middle. And this is now being aluminum. Number one, I want this guitar to be lighter than the steel one. The steel guitar ended up being, I think, about 10 pounds, which is like a heavy Les Paul. So it wasn't out of this world. I wanted to reduce the weight. So we're doing aluminum now. And so this one will have an inner structure that is the same gauge as the top and bottom. This is 063 aluminum sheet. So the plan is, here's one of the sides that got cut out on the CNC. It's not shaped to go around the side of the guitar yet. Actually, you'll see, so I already have sides made, but I had thicker gauge that I thought I would just use, but it's turning out to be a bit of a difficult task. Plus, being a thicker gauge, aluminum is so touchy to weld, and there are some amazing guys out there that do it, but I'm not one of them yet. We've got a pattern going on here. This is the classic sort of paisley pattern, and this is all burred up. This will be sanded, and this will not be a polished aluminum guitar. I'm not a fan of that look. It's just blinding. This will have a brushed look of some kind with a darkened filler look on the inside for the design. The plan initially when I made this was that these holes here, this is the back, but these holes here would be plug welded to aluminum and you would not see them. And if I could get good enough at doing that, because in steel you can do that. That's a fairly small hole, but in steel you can do that. But TIG welding, I've had a heck of a time trying to get that to work. And the front of the guitar, which is not here at the moment, the front is going to be riveted and have a copper rivet look all the way around, which I would love to do on the back. But the problem with what we're doing here is we're basically building either a box or an eggshell. And so these rivets, you need to use the pneumatic gun on the top, and you need to have the block on the back to squish it, which you can do once we get the sides bent to shape, welded around on the top piece. This is the back. We'll make the whole shell so it'll look like a guitar back and top. We'll have the room inside to get my hands in there to do every rivet from the back side, and then the top will be riveted on. But then you'll have an open back that'll look like this. And ideally you would rivet the back on as well, but with my current setup, I can't get my hand in there. Once you put this on here like that, that's not going to be possible. So my thought was to tack weld this all up, but I think just the way this is going, the way aluminum is acting for me, this might end up getting the similar look of rivets, but it'll be small Allen heads of screws. And unfortunately, back here I did this to tack weld onto this center rib, but unless I can figure that out, which I have figured it out a little bit. This was using an aluminum rivet. These rivets look like brass when you get them, but they're actually aluminum rivets. So when you polish them, the brass disappears. So this was using an aluminum rivet, not stamped, just sitting in there. And I tacked that in on both sides. This would be the inside, this would be the top. And it works okay. It's not bad, but it took some love. It still needs some love. And so that would be the situation with these middle ones. So the back of the guitar might end up being little screws. Now what I'm trying to accomplish with my TIG welder is no filler, hot, quick flash welds. And right inside this circle, you can see that I'm starting to get there. It went from, oh my God, to not so bad. But that's still going to take a little bit of grinding. And my main goal for this whole thing is to have little to no grinding, because that steel guitar needed so much work to get it clean on the outside that it just took a lot of time, and that's where the money is lost. So this is where we're at. This is what I'm trying to do, and it's been difficult, I will say. I am the sole product of an artist and an engineer. My mother has been painting ever since I can remember, still to this day, changing her styles throughout the years. My father was a civil engineer throughout his career, with a mathematical mind that I could never truly understand. Now that I have mixed left and right brain, math was never quite my specialty, but he was able to design the tightrope for Nick Wallenda for Niagara Falls, as well as the Grand Canyon. He also wrote a book, but I couldn't tell you what the heck that's about. Like any young boy, I was into cars and I was into bikes. I wasn't necessarily the best rider in the world, but I certainly knew what looked good and what I could do to make any bike look better than it did stock. Maybe it wasn't as comfortable, but aesthetically, it was a badass look. Most new bikes, most new vehicles were just too expensive. So you had to take what you could get for a good price and put some elbow grease into it to make it look good, especially back in the 90s. When I was a teenager, you could get a classic vehicle for next to nothing, $1,000, maybe 2,000 if it was a good runner. Do whatever you needed to do to get it running. Tear it apart, rebuild the motor. It wasn't too expensive. These days, It's a little bit more, but the fun is still there and the reward is still there. The comforts of a new vehicle, quite frankly, are not interesting to me. Although it is convenient and they work every day, the older I get, I still miss having something older. So here I am, just like I said, full circle, still doing the same old thing. And it turns out with culture these days, cars and guitars mix together very well. But we'll get to that a little bit later.